welcome everyone to the Spiritual Freedom Support Call number 36. I think some other people will be joining us, but thanks. I think you're new, so thanks for joining. How are you doing?
Excellent. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of this. I love your show.
Oh, thank you. It was someone, I don't know if you were the one, someone contacted me the other day about joining this Tuesday. I'm not sure if that was you or not.
Yes, that was me.
Ah, okay. Okay, hi, PK. Hi, PK. Can't hear you. PK, I cannot hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. I'm on the iPad. Sorry, it took me a while to click what was happening.
No problem. How are you doing?
Hey, great. What about you guys?
Good.
Hey.
We have a new... Oh, are you still there, PK? It's one of...
Yes.
Okay. It said you left. We have a new person today. Your name Cassia, right?
Cassia, yes.
Cassia. Sorry.
You know, that's the name of a biblical oil, Cassia.
Is it? You would know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome.
And should I be saying Guten Tag, Brandon?
What? Oh.
Nice. I thought the same thing.
Wait a second.
You didn't know what it meant? Good day.
Oh, I know what it means. I just didn't know why we were speaking German. I got it now. Survived my first week. That was good.
Have they had to find you new jobs?
Well, I completed my first project that I had. We had a pretty urgent project we had to get finished that they've been trying to get done for a few months now, and I got it done.
You got it in 4 days.
I got it done already, so that was nice.
Amazing.
I
know.
It was a lot of fun.
Impressive. They must have been so pleased.
I'm trying to impress them. So yeah, that was fun. So now we're just continuing on from there. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. Christine loves listening. It's like because I'm very verbal with my programming, so I'll like be very verbally disappointed if something goes wrong or excited.
That's funny.
So yeah,
I can imagine.
I'm very verbal with how things go. So she's entertained by that.
Well, I like to talk to my electronic devices. I don't know if you do that, but I find it can be very helpful.
Sometimes. I just talk in general all the time. I talk to myself or...
He talks to his programs, so I guess that counts.
My programs.
Yeah.
I talk to my devices, too.
Yeah. It happens.
I think it can be therapeutic for both of us.
Yeah, definitely. A few things before we get started. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a podcast this weekend because I got sick over Easter weekend. Just got better today, this morning, really, last night, I guess. So no time to record it. And if we recorded it later in the week, there's no time to edit it because I have a service that edits the podcasts, and it takes them like 3 days. So no time to do the podcast. But I think I'm going to do a blog post that'll be released Saturday, so that'll be fun.
Something will be there.
Something will probably be there Saturday or this weekend in general. But no podcast this week, unfortunately. But, so yeah.
It's not a problem. We can always go back over the previous podcast.
There's lots of stuff. It's not like there's not a lot of material.
There's plenty I haven't heard yet.
Plus, I just released the, for those who are in the Art of Reality Creation 2.0, I just released the second class on Sunday, finally. So
yeah, that was really good, too.
Do you like that? I was hoping. I really want to get it out there because there's a lot of new stuff.
I don't know if it's the words that you use, maybe the words that you use or just the way that you say it or whatever, but I understand things differently when I've listened to you.
Right. I'm glad, yeah. I think the way we discussed the goal... Because I don't know, it's not me. The way we discussed, because I introduced the goal difficulty scale, and I won't discuss it too much as this is public, but... because I know a lot of people had trouble differentiating between the current level, next level, and ultimate level goals. So I was hoping to clarify that a lot because a lot of people get confused by that. So I think Yeah.
I think I had a very old-fashioned idea of the word goals and what that meant to me.
Oh, really?
Like,
how
yeah.
so?
Well, number one, I hate goals. Well, I used to, but now I can totally understand where it's coming from.
Yeah. Hi, Justin.
Oh, it takes a minute for someone to join.
Hi, Justin.
Hey there.
Your microphone. You sound like you're at the bottom of a lake.
Who's going to buy that boy a new microphone?
That's better?
We got to get together and just get a fund going to get Justin a new microphone.
Is that better?
Yes.
That's better.
Do you have Give a Little pages over there?
What?
Do you have Give a Little pages over there?
Government?
What's that, Justin?
I'm not sure what she means.
Go ahead.
We don't know what that is.
In New Zealand, we have pages. It's sort of like on something like Facebook, and it's called Give a Little.
Oh, Give a Little.
Oh, Give a Little?
I never heard of it.
Yeah.
GoFundMe, I guess. GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Let's GoFundMe. We'll get a
it would
GoFundMe
be the same
going.
concept. Yeah.
For Justin. Justin needs a new microphone.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's at the bottom of a lake.
Well, I think he forgot to plug it in as well.
I know. I'm just kidding with him. How are you doing, Justin?
Fine. How about you? Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Good. Anyway, PK, you're talking about goals and how you're afraid of them.
Well, not afraid of them, just totally ignored them.
Wow. Okay. You don't like goals.
And never kind of made the connection between the old-fashioned idea of setting goals and law of attraction, or whatever we're calling it now, magic.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that, in actual fact, I am setting goals. I just hadn't called it that.
Right. I understand. Yeah. Yeah, they're tough. I think they're tough, but I think a proper understanding of them goes a long way in understanding how this all works.
Yeah, well,
like
now I understand. It's sort of it's just a way of seeing where you're going, and how far along you are.
Right. Oh yeah, it's a way of documenting your progress, I think.
Yeah.
I think we're afraid of setting goals because there's the chance of failure.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
Yeah. That's, I think, the whole thing with law of attraction, because we sort of, in like the traditional law of attraction teachings, you have this fail-safe, which really isn't, because it really doesn't work, but this fail-safe where you say, oh, well, it doesn't really matter if it happens, because as long as I feel good about it, that's all that really matters. That's all that I really should want. So even if you say, well, this is what I want, and then I don't get it, it's sort of this fail-safe, but in real goal setting, which is what we're trying to do, you don't have that. It's like you can fail. Now, obviously in NLP, we have that saying there's no failure, only feedback, and that's true. But you can fail to achieve the goal, at least for now, and then you regroup and try again and try again and try again. But you have to be. It takes brutal honesty, I think, to look at your progress, see how far you've come or not come, and really evaluate how you're doing. It's hard. It takes honesty. I think we hate honesty.
and that's what truly frustrated me about conventional LOA, because there's always an out. Oh, well, you didn't visualize enough, or you did it, or you had resistance, or you didn't do it right somehow. And if you actually put like a big lifetime goal on that, that is of no help at all to move forward.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to be honest with yourself. And, if you're not getting what you want, you have to say, you know what I'm doing isn't working, and reevaluate and try again and see what happens. So I'm very results oriented, as everyone knows. If you're not getting results, then what's the point?
I'm gonna go
seriously.
Get my coffee. I'll be right back.
Yep.
Ooh. And I think what I found really helpful about the goals and breaking them down was that it helped me to get more clarity, because I always hear that, like the universe likes us to be clear. Like the more clear we are about what it is that we want, the more effective our manifestation process is going to be. And I have trouble with that. So like breaking it down into smaller, like 3 to 6 months, 12 months, 18 months.
Right.
Like it was really helpful to me. And it also helped me to realize that I set a lot of ultimate goals, but it's really difficult for me to imagine myself attaining that because it's so far removed from what my reality is right now.
It's actually, and I'll give this tidbit that was, should I? This bit that was from the class. And this is the one thing that I'll give, because I think it's so useful, and I think it could really go a long way in helping people to understand this. So you get the 3 levels of goals, right? I as I was planning out the material about the 3 types of goals, I was realizing something. And I think this is a big pitfall for a lot of people, is that when you're imagining these big ultimate level goals, so let's just make it very real. Imagine something that you want, but is at least somewhat believable, and that when you really choose as a goal, it's sort of scary, right? It's really frightening to you. Okay, so that's one thing. That's the next level goal. Now imagine something completely out there. That would be like a one day, I'd really like this. An ultimate level goal where it's like way off in the future, way different from what you have now. But when you think about it, I have no idea what that is. Anyway, not me.
Someone's having water or something.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry. That was me.
I was really trying hard not to comment on it.
I was just washing my hands because I've been eating.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's okay. Anyway, but so you have the next level goal that feels scary, and then you pick this ultimate level goal that's like way out there, and when you think about it, you can't really connect with it, but you might actually kind of feel good about it. Okay, see if that's true for you. Because I realized that when a goal is so far out there, your subconscious sort of just gives up on it. And that's something, PK, did you see that from the class?
Absolutely. That was another huge aha, because hey, just to throw figures out there, say you're thinking to yourself, 1 year I'm going to make $1 million.
Right.
It's not scary at all.
It's not scary at all.
If you say in the next month I'm going to make $5,000,
that's
freak
terrifying.
Out.
Right. Exactly. You're right.
Absolutely.
So and this is what law of attraction people do, is they'll say, and this is where the delusional stuff comes from that people get, because they'll say, oh, I just have to feel good about it and visualize. I can do that. So they'll start visualizing what they'll do with $1 million, and they'll start feeling good about it. But it's sort of so far out there that they subconsciously can't even connect with it. So they're waiting, and it's going to come any day now. But it's not, because you can't even build a bridge to it. The goal has to be close enough to sort of build a subconscious bridge to, and you just can't do it when it's so far out. Having $1 million, let's say, or something like that.
So what you're saying essentially is, if you get a feeling from whatever it is that you're visualizing, you're imagining, that means that your subconscious is engaging. And if you don't get much of a feeling from it, then that means it's kind of too far out there.
Well, it's a tough one because you may get a feeling from thinking about, let's say, just take any big goal you have, any big goal you have that's way out there. You may get a feeling from it thinking about, like, if you think about how much you'd love to be a millionaire, you might think about all the stuff you buy. You might think about, how the life you'd lead with that kind of money and stuff like that. The difference is, and we've talked about this many, many times, it's a daydream. It's not a goal. You can't get serious about it. You can't really get serious about it because you can't really map a pathway to it. Not to say, like, obviously you're not supposed to figure out the how, but it's so far out that you can't even start to create that subconsciously. So it's not necessarily about the feelings. It's so, this goes way against like any law of attraction advice, which is why I differentiate myself from that. But here's what it is. So the current level goal feels easy. Okay. It's just, I know I can do that like right now or within the next week. Right? People really overestimate current level goals all the time. It's just whatever I can get within the next week. There's really not many exceptions to that. Okay. If you can't get it in a week, it's not a current level goal. Next level goals almost invariably they'll feel good, but they'll also feel scary and risky. Okay? Like PK mentioned, making $5,000 in the next month. Yep. I can imagine that. Sure, but if I really right now sit down and say, okay, look, this is a goal. I'm choosing that I'm going to make $5,000 in the next month. I should get scared by that. I should be kind of frightened by that. Okay. The next level goal is not comfortable. It shouldn't be comfortable. Right. Because it has to, that discomfort is your subconscious saying, I can get there, but I'm not there. That's basically what your subconscious is saying there. I can get there, but I'm not there. Okay? And you have to work out the rest. And then the ultimate level goal is, you can think about it and you can feel good about it and you can even visualize it, but it's not really going to feel scary because it's way above your level right now. It's so far out there that you can't really take it seriously.
Your subconscious is just not even going to dial into that.
It's not even going to try. It's just sort of like, it's like imagining a day in the life of Bill Gates. Yes, theoretically I can do that, and I might even get really excited about it. So there might be a lot of emotion there. But realistically, my subconscious is like, there's no way. I can't get there. I can't. So it'll let you daydream, but you can't choose it as a goal. It can't even imagine a way there. So there's a disconnect. If you were to try to start like choosing it as a goal, there's just a disconnect. It's like, not happening. You might feel really good about it, but it's just way too far out there. So a real next level goal is going to feel risky and scary. Something that's so far out there you can't even connect with, it's not going to feel scary because you can't really fathom even the path to get there, so it can't feel scary. Right.
Okay. So that sort of brings me into the question that I had for you, which is about the subconscious, and it's about, you did a podcast on homeostasis.
Yes.
Which I found very interesting. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, how do I go about that process of reprogramming my subconscious, for lack of a better word, and sort of moving that point of homeostasis so that I'm not bringing myself back to the place that I'm already at once I start to get some of the things.
Have you read my articles about subconscious structures? Do you know what I mean when I speak about subconscious structures?
Not exactly, but if you said briefly, I probably would be able to hop on the train.
So basically, your point of homeostasis is what's your normal right now. Okay.
Yep.
So that's another word for your current level goals, like whatever's normal, whatever's in your realm of possibility right now, of easy possibility. Your next level goals are going to be what's above your homeostasis, but still within reach, still within believable reach. So what happens is, this is the reason for goals are really the driving force behind creation. Okay. So what happens is that as you're in your point of homeostasis, you're in your normal, your point of normal, and you set a next level goal. Okay. So I use financial examples a lot because they're very quantitative. So let's say someone is making $30,000 a year and they'd really like to make $35,000 a year. It's not outside of the realm of possibility or believability, but it's that much different that it might be a little bit scary. Like, how am I going to do that? Or let's say even 40,000 might be even scarier. How am I going to do that? That's 33% difference. How am I going to do that? So what happens is that as you focus on the new goal, you feel that discomfort. Like I said, that discomfort is your subconscious saying, yes, it's possible, but I'm not there yet. Okay, I can get there, but I'm not there yet. And so it's kind of scary because I don't know if I'm going to get there. So it's risky. Okay, so what happens is, am I audible? Because
you went out a little bit, but now you're
I
back.
hear you now.
All right. What happens is, as you focus on that, your subconscious will bring up everything that is in the way of that goal. So the example I use a lot, I've done a lot of study on brain theory, if you ever, a book I really recommend is The Talent Code by, I think his name's Daniel Doyle or Coyle or something like that. The Talent Code is the name of the book. But anyway, an example I use a lot is practicing a musical instrument. Do you play any musical instruments?
No.
Okay. Or any kind of like artistic skill like that? So I play the piano, well, occasionally, but I use this I use this example, but it can apply to anything that's like skill based. Okay. So just replace it with whatever. So as you're learning a new song, a new piece of music, you're going to have parts of it that are like really, 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 really hard to you. And then parts that are kind of easy that you don't really have to work too much on. But that song, if you're doing it right, is above your current level of skill, right? That's kind of, as a musician, that's sort of your goal, is to improve by learning something that's more difficult than what you're easily capable of right now.
Yeah.
Right. So, let's say I'm really good at trills or something, but I'm not so good at like tremolos or at like fast octaves or something like that. So what happens is, as you practice a section of music, and I promise I'll bring this back around, but as you practice a section of music, it is literally creating new pathways in your brain that says, here's how you do this. Okay, so you might do it so many times in a day, and then you drop it for the day because you don't want to overstimulate that new pathway, right? And then you come back, and then you come back to it the next day and you practice it again, and it's a little bit easier. And then you come back to it the next day, it's a little bit easier. And you come back to it the next day, it's a little bit easier. And you might, one thing every musician knows, you drop something difficult for like a week and then you come back to it and it becomes a lot easier. Maybe not totally easy, but it's like, oh, wow, it's really easy now, or at least a lot easier. So you keep coming back to it, you keep practicing it, and eventually that neural pathway is so practiced that your brain knows how to do that now. And so when you go and perform it on stage, it's like, it's just second nature. It's no longer difficult. You have to practice something to the point of being easy. Easy just means what your brain is used to doing. Okay? So in creation, in goal setting and achieving your goals, let's say you're used to getting 30,000 a year. Your brain knows how to do that. Okay? But if you want 40,000 a year, your brain doesn't know how to do that yet. So you practice it. And the way you practice it is through your thoughts. You practice through your visualization or through journaling or through affirmations or whatever's going to evoke those emotions. Okay? So you practice it. And you practice it. And this is why, you know, some law of attraction teachers will say like, oh, you just have to ask a few times and it's done. The universe knows what you want. No. You have to ask every day, or at least most days, or do what I do and wait half the month and then really cram it in. But but you have to do it a lot. Okay,
so he admits it. On the blogs, he was so perfect.
Okay, so essentially you're doing it until it's sort of imprinted in your subconscious.
All right, so what happens is this. So if you practice it mentally every day, okay, your subconscious at first will say, I don't know how to do that. That's just not, there's not a neural pathway that leads to this goal right now. But as you visualize it day after day, the first day it's going to be really hard. It's going to be like, I don't know how to do this, but you keep sticking to it. And by a month or 2 months in, your brain says, hey, I know how to follow that pathway. I know how to feel $40,000 a year. And all we're saying is that if you can feel easily that goal while choosing it and without a lot of resistance coming up, that's going to get reflected, and that's what the law of attraction really is. It'll get reflected on the outside where the subconscious will create an external pathway for that goal to actually happen. So this is what subconscious structures are. So as you're focusing on the goal, it's creating new neural pathways, quite literally. This is what I mean by subconscious structures. And as those structures form, you're now at a new level. So let's go back to the piece of music. You've learned that new piece of music. That's going to stick with you. Those techniques are going to stick with you. Now, if you learn another song that has similar techniques, it's going to be a lot easier. It doesn't just go away. So if you learned how to make $40,000 a year, you can't, unless there's something big that happens, generally you can't just slide back down to 30,000 unless there's some other piece of resistance that was triggered somehow. That's something else entirely. But generally speaking, you have that now. Now you know how to do it. Okay? So you hear about these people who are really rich who might have a period of spiraling down and losing everything, but guess what? Pretty quickly they're going to regain it all.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? Because they know how to be rich. They know how to do it. Okay? Maybe they got into a period where they lost some of it, but they know how to be rich. They get it all back. So
that's their normal.
Exactly. That's their normal. So the homeostasis, as you create those new subconscious structures or neural pathways, whatever you want to call them, that is your new normal. So now if you're making 40,000, now 30,000 feels like, oh, how did I do that? That feels really tight. 40,000 feels normal now. And now maybe you set 50,000 or whatever. So you're going to naturally fall back to that point now. That's going to be your new normal. Does that make sense? That was a really long explanation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. I was relating it to, I do Reiki, and right now I'm in school for massage. And so at first it was really overwhelming, learning all the techniques and, the different types of strokes. And it's starting to feel a lot more natural, right?
I do
Where do you live? I'll come
too.
over.
We're in New York.
A little far. I'm in Maine.
I could do it. I've never practiced it, but I could do it.
Right.
I'm not certified, but I know the techniques, if that makes sense.
Trained.
I was trained, but I don't have the piece of paper that says I'm certified.
Right.
But and you don't even need it in every state.
No.
I agree. I also do Reiki too.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's a very good point. It's just like that where the techniques become more.
They can get overwhelming at first.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of information to process. Learning anatomy and physiology at the same time as learning techniques But the more I do it, it's that muscle memory too.
Exactly, right.
Where going through the motions, I'm creating those pathways like you're talking about. And it's starting to feel more natural, and I'm learning faster now that I've got some of that down.
Right.
And it's not nearly as overwhelming.
Right. Yeah.
I just got a massage today, actually.
Yeah. So what were you going to go on? What were you going to say?
So I was going to say what it sounded like to me also was when you're going through this process, what you're doing is you're taking a next level goal and you're creating these new pathways and you're, doing whatever it is that you do, visualizing, affirmations, whatever it may be, until it starts to feel like a current level goal.
Right. Right.
And that's when it manifests, is when it feels easy because you become so accustomed that it feels like it's already there.
Right, exactly. And, by the time it happens, it's just sort of like, okay. I mean, it might happen a little before that where it's still kind of exciting. It's still sort of like, wow, I can't believe it actually happened. Like, if you've been following my posts, I've been talking about my job I just got. That's sort of how that felt. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it actually happened. But, in general, the easier it gets, the more likely you are to get there. And the more you're going to see pathways forming in your outer reality to bring you to that goal. So that by the time you get there, it will feel pretty normal to you, for sure.
Right.
So
excellent.
I think, if people would see this not as some, mysterious, mystical way of visualizing and of getting things, but more as like learning how to experience it within first. Okay. So I used to call it the vibrational signature or vibrational essence of the goal. So learning how to experience the goal before you actually get the goal. That's, I think that would help a lot because, again, back to the money example, like if you make 30,000, you have to learn how to experience 40,000, and then the path to get there will form itself. So you have to, it's a learning process, just like, massage therapy or just like Reiki or just like playing the piano or anything else. It's a learning process where, yes, at first it's hard, but you don't give up because, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. You keep going at it. You ignore the mistakes and just keep going, and eventually it gets easier. Right, so it's a learning process is really what creation is. It's just a process of learning how to experience the goal you want to have.
And just like you don't give up on it when you have peaks and valleys in your manifestation either. You don't give up on it then. That's like a mistake in the piano. You just keep doing
exactly.
it. You just keep doing it until you get what you want, or until you get an answer from the universe or whatever. But you get it. You just do it until you get it. You just keep rolling.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So it's just a process of learning, and it's the only part where the I guess mystical stuff kind of comes in is that as you experience it within, like, and funnily enough, people don't really trust in this part of the process. This is the most common part that people get stuck on, but as you start to build those subconscious structures or neural pathways or whatnot, like I said, the subconscious mind finds ways of building a pathway to it on the outside. And then you have to, people try to focus on the details, like how am I going to make it happen? How am I going to get this goal? But that's sort of besides the point. The subconscious mind will build that pathway. It'll generate, if one exists already, then fine. It'll come through an existing door or pathway. But if one doesn't exist yet for it to happen, it'll create a new pathway. Okay? And so when it does, then that will come up in your reality. So just like, I'm going to check this because it might be someone else was supposed to come. I got a message. But anyway, so when I was working on my job, or not, it wasn't even a job goal. It was getting off of SSI was the goal. And it could have chosen a current pathway. I have a few pathways of financial, abundance, I guess. But my subconscious chose another pathway that would be easier that it had to create a new pathway, which was the job, right? So it will create a way for you to get there, but you have to let it happen. You can't try to find ways to make it happen. That won't work, and that's what they don't trust in that part of the process. That's really the part where the mystical stuff comes in. The other stuff is just practicing it in your mind, right? So, that's sort of the most important part of the process, is letting the subconscious mind, or letting the universe, or whatever you want to call it, build that pathway and trusting that will happen. It does happen. I've seen it so many times at this point. I mean, you get to a point like where you've manifested so much, so many times, that you don't really doubt that anymore. It always happens. You just have to trust that it will happen. And I guess that's the hard part. But it does happen.
Yep. I used to spend a lot of time, I've really been working on that, like trying to figure out how it was going to happen, or like making sure that I created enough opportunity, but then being like, well, which one is it going to be? And it might be something else. And my focusing all my energy in the wrong direction is probably not helping, if that's not how
not at all.
Well, it's not helping. I mean, one thing I do is I will test different ways. I'll research this when I get a notion, or I'll talk to these people, or just kind of follow the energy. But I'll get to a stopping point, and then I'll just stop, and then I'll go do something else, and I'll just sort of see which way the manifestation's going. But I only do it when I've got kind of an inspiration to do it, because all that's doing is leading me to the goal. I don't keep trying to man, it's got to happen this way. No, you know what? I don't care how it happens.
Right. So it's sort of like you put a bunch of kettles on the stove, but you don't watch them boil. You just
I don't watch them boil.
See which one's going to boil.
Like I said, for me, when I set my goal, it was just a little over a month ago. I didn't, metaphorically speaking, put any kettles on the stove. I just set the goal. It was super scary. I just set the goal, and I said, you know what? I know there are some current pathways. Maybe they'll create a new pathway. I really don't know how it's going to happen. I didn't try to do anything. People are so sensitive about not taking action right away. And I think most of the people I work with or talk to about this, I have to tell them or encourage them, stop trying to take so much action.
Yeah,
don't try so hard.
Don't keep doing it. Yeah.
Don't try to set something in motion if it doesn't feel natural.
No.
It will come to you. It will happen. You'll know what to do, or you'll have an instinct, and you can check it out then. But it'll happen. It might come through a current pathway. It might not. It might create a new pathway. I don't know.
Don't micromanage it.
Right.
No,
just
don't micromanage it.
Just don't even start with action. I mean, unless it feels really good to do so and you really feel inspired to something. But you might know right away. But mostly, you just start with inner focus, visualization, journaling, whatever it is for you. And then the opportunities will come. And all you have to do is take those opportunities. And not worry about it. And it's just a very natural process of getting there once the opportunities come up. Really, the hard part is generating the opportunities, but that's, through your inner focus, and then your subconscious does the rest. And then once you start following the opportunities, it's a nice, easy process from there.
So I wanted to go back to one other thing that you said, just for some clarification.
Sure.
You had said something about your subconscious brings up everything that's in the way of your goal.
Yes.
So what can you talk a little more about that?
Mm-hmm. So when you set a goal, your subconscious will immediately, it will try its best to take on that goal. But seeing as you don't have it yet, and if it's not a current level goal, it won't be able to do so. So what happens energetically is that as it's trying to embody that goal, it will trigger those parts of your inner landscape, of your subconscious mind, of your energy field that aren't in alignment with that goal. So these are usually limiting beliefs, subconscious programs, things like that. So for example, again, if you have a money goal and you set the goal, you choose the goal, and it feels scary, it's going to trigger limiting beliefs. You might have limiting beliefs about what it means to have more money, or that, having more money means working a lot harder and you don't want to work harder, or, right. or, one thing for me was, what do you do with, I know this is really odd, what do you do with all this extra money? So it's like, you kind of feel guilty almost at first. Like, oh, there's all this extra money. What do you do with it? But things like that will come up and trigger you and challenge you. And that's what I mean, is that anything that's blocking you, because basically the reason you don't have that goal is because instead of having that goal, you'd rather believe these other things and hold on to these other programs, right? Yep. So because, because you're holding on to these things, then it means that you can't have the goal. So when you set the goal, when you embody the goal or start to take on that process, your subconscious will basically give you little ultimatums, I guess. It'll say, okay, would you rather have this goal over here, or would you rather have this really scary thought over here? Now, here's the important part. Obviously, if you ask anyone that, they're going to say, well, duh, I'd rather have the goal. But here's the thing. So here's what
easier said than done.
Here's what will happen, though. What will happen is you'll set the goal. You'll think about, I really want, let's say $40,000 a year or whatnot. And your subconscious will say, yeah, but let's just say, but look at all the extra hours you'll have to work, or something like that. Okay, how much harder you'll have to work. You're already working really hard. So you'll feel this fear. Obviously, you'd rather have the goal than the fear, theoretically speaking. But here's what happens. What you focus on, what you put emotion towards, is what your subconscious mind thinks you're choosing. So if you say, what am I going to do? This is really fearful. And you obsess about that fear. You obsess about that what if scenario, or those limiting beliefs, or whatever. Your subconscious mind says, oh, okay, so that's more important than your goal over there. I see. Okay. Right? So whatever you're emotionally reacting to, your subconscious mind takes as, well, that must be the most important thing. So it's going to give you a bunch of either or scenarios. So either the goal or this fear about, working too hard or whatnot, working so many hours. Okay. And the way you choose, you don't get to say, yeah, well, I'd rather have the goal. No, you have to do it by, are you going to react emotionally to the goal in a positive way? Or are you going to react in a fearful way to the thought about working so hard and working so many hours? So that's why I use mindfulness, and I talk about the zero state and things like that. But basically just not reacting to the thought, just letting it be a thought, just letting that fearful thought flow through you without really reacting to it. It's like, okay, oh, there's that thought. All right, I'm not going to react to it. It's okay, I have the thought, but I'm not going to react to it. But, oh, okay, once the thought goes, oh, look at this goal. Yes, I really like that goal. I really want to react positively to that goal and feel good about it. Then your subconscious mind says, oh, okay, you chose the goal over the fearful thought. Now, it might not go 100% the first time, but it'll weaken the fearful thought, the limiting belief of the program.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm experiencing right now.
Yeah.
I left my job to pursue, I started a Reiki practice. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to manifest that. I also just started school as well.
Right.
But the practice is my only source of income right now.
Right.
And I'm having a lot of those thoughts and those fears come up, and this, like this really isn't going to work, and maybe you should do this instead. And, you know, some of it I think is sort of, you know, I listened to another podcast that you had where you talked about, like, sometimes you have to do what you have to do, you know?
Right.
So I had always in the back of my mind said, well, you know, I can get like a part-time job if I need to while this is building, you know, because I find, and I decided I'm going to get like a catering job or something, just a day or two a week, which will take the stress off of the financial, because I feel like it's starting to drain me instead of filling me up. It's starting to stress me out, and I'm starting to feel kind of like desperate and almost pathetic, like trying to get clients to come in, like sort of overdoing it because I'm, you know, it's getting to that crunch point.
Right. You just don't have the money to keep going.
If I lived in Maine, I'd come see you.
Oh, thank you.
Christine loves massages.
No, she prefers Reiki.
But I would too. I love Reiki and massage.
Well, excellent. Well, if you ever come around, let me know.
I'll have to have a group meeting in Maine.
In the summer, though, right?
Yes, in the summer.
But I get that, though. You know, when I first started co-creation coaching, I've talked about several times where I had like several months of just nothing, no clients, just totally dry. And the thing is that the more that goes on, the more you're trying so hard. It's like, oh my God, I have to break this dry spell of no clients, and oh my gosh, like, you know, what am I gonna do? And you're getting more and more, you know, you're getting more desperate. Desperation is a big manifestation killer, the biggest probably manifestation killer, desperation. But, you know, so I definitely am a proponent of do what you have to do for now if you need to. I mean, now if it's something where you're like literally, you know, dreading it and that kind of thing, then don't do that. I mean, you shouldn't do anything you dread. You know what I mean? But try to take a compromise. Try to take a compromise where there's something where, okay, maybe this isn't super ideal right now, but look, it's only temporary or something. You know, I'm all for that because that will take off the stress, and you know, that's great. Because you got to eat, you got to pay the bills. You know, I mean, it's like I'm all for the hierarchy of needs, right? You got to get your food and shelter and whatnot before you self-actualize.
It's getting the money to you. So you're still bringing in money, so you're actually achieving the higher vibration of money.
Money, yeah.
So you would, you know, not in the way you want, but hey.
Right, but it's something. It's something.
Yep.
But so yeah, I'm all for that for sure.
Yep. But I'm trying to really not feed those other thoughts that come up, like, wow, it's a lot more effort than you thought starting a business.
Yeah.
Like maybe this isn't for you, you know, like you said, like you have to work just as much as you had to work before, but at least before you could come in and leave and not have to worry about it when you work for someone else.
Right.
And I'm just like, I'm still continuing to take the steps that I need to take and like going with it and building on it, even though I'm having those thoughts, and I'm trying not to indulge in them and just to focus on like, what's the next step forward.
So the really difficult part is that we believe in our thoughts. I call them ego stories. We believe in our stories. Okay. So there's a story that it's really hard to get clients. It's so hard to get clients. And we believe in that thought and that story and all those stories you just mentioned. You believe in those because they're in your head, they're in your mind, so they must be true.
Right, like clients can't afford to pay for this kind of stuff.
Right.
That's like the story.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one I used to have.
That mine tells me.
Yep, that's a big one I used to have. So what you have to start practicing is seeing through those stories. So this thought comes up. You kind of want to take it as though like you're picking up the newspaper and you're reading the story and you're like, okay, is this story actually true or not? Or is it just, you know, someone making up something?
So every time I watch the news, the way that I feel.
Right, exactly. So this thought comes up like, who can afford this kind of stuff? Who's going to pay this much money for, my services? Okay, that's a thought. But okay, hey thought, I don't have to believe in you. Only if I believe in you am I going to react in fear, because then I'm going to think it's true and whatever. But I don't have to feel that way. So if I just stay here and let you play out, don't repress the thought. Don't push it down and say, nope, not going there. Some people will do that, and that's not effective either. What you do is just a good metaphor that I've heard other people use that I really like. It's sort of like hearing a radio playing in the background where it's background noise. Okay, there's that thought, whatever. You think what you want to think, I'm going to come over here and keep choosing my goal and keep choosing that I want to get clients, and clients will be able to afford me and whatever. And so the important thing to realize is that metaphorically speaking, the food of thoughts, of subconscious programs, is focus and emotion. Okay? So as you said, indulge in them, as you focus on them, as you react emotionally and fearfully to them, you're feeding them, and they're getting stronger, and they're getting stronger, and they're getting stronger. But if they come up and you say, whatever, you do your thing, I'm going to come over here and still, think about what I want to think about, they're going to get weaker, because you're no longer feeding into this whole cycle of fear that because basically your subconscious mind is really trying to protect you. It's just trying to say, wait, you want this, you want a successful business, but look, you told me to believe in this so long ago, however long ago. You told me to believe in this other thought. What do you want? Do you want me to believe in this, or do you want to believe in I can have a successful business? What do you want? And it's your emotions and your focus that will dictate, that will tell your subconscious mind what you do want. It's just you have to learn how to communicate with that part of yourself. But it's through focus and emotions that you feed the thoughts you want to feed. What thoughts do you want to get stronger? Which thoughts do you want to get weaker? So that's essentially how it works. Your subconscious is going to come up with these either this big thing you want, or this other thing that I'm already holding on to that, is safe because it's what I already know. It's safe to think, people can't afford my services. What kind of world would it be if people could afford my services?
The thing is, people will pay anything for you to heal them or to help heal them, because people will get, I don't want to use the word desperate or whatever, but they will try to find a cure for anything. I know of someone, the reason she does Reiki today is because she was cured by Reiki at one point. She had it was a disease that was incurable, or I don't know what was wrong.
Right.
She was healed by Reiki. Now she does it. So people will pay for it.
And to kind of, be practical for a second, what is a possibility also, and it's not super recommended depending on how you go about it, but it can work, is to play into it for now. And what I mean by that is, okay, maybe this amount, maybe X amount isn't reasonable for my subconscious to believe in. It's sort of like a financial goal. Maybe this amount isn't reasonable for people to pay that I can believe right now. Maybe 3/4 of that is believable. Maybe someone can afford some of that. Can I imagine someone paying this amount, instead of the higher amount?
That's what you did.
That's what I did.
Because you used to charge, what, 200 and what?
Right, yeah.
Something.
And
right.
I think what I did was actually the opposite of that recently. I started really low. I wasn't really valuing the service that I was providing, because I had a certain target clientele of people that I wanted to be able to help. Yeah. And then I realized at some point that they weren't even booking sessions with me, even though I was trying to make it affordable. And other people were, and they didn't even blink at the price.
Yeah.
So then I raised my prices a little bit. And now I've raised them to around what is generally acceptable for the service, like what the median sort of price is. And, you know, like the idea behind that was just like the clients who are meant for me are going to find me and they're going to be okay paying that.
Yeah.
It's very reasonable, but it's sustainable
definitely.
And it shows that I value what I'm doing and that I'm confident in my ability to do it.
Sure.
Yeah, the Reiki I had was 65. And it's like, you know, she gave me a discount because she was linked to the same martial art family I'm in. But really, that was how much it was. She said, you know, he's got to pay 65. Then she said, but I'm going to give you a discount. She didn't tell me that until I got there. I'm going to give you the discount that's on the 50 for you.
So
go ahead, Brad.
No, I was going to say, like, that's why it is sort of dangerous and you have to be really careful with it. But sometimes you want to go a little higher than what you think is comfortable, but, you know, not play into that where, you know, you're attracting a certain type of client, like you said, obviously. Like people are attracted to certain prices. It may not be the people you want to attract.
I had that problem because the reason I won't get certified is because I see massage therapy as more of a service than something I go to school for, I guess. Because for me, it's ridiculous how much some people charge for it. Like $80 or $90 for an hour. Give me a break. Like for massage, you know. And I understand it if you're really good at what you're doing or whatever. I know. Well, here's the other thing, though. I know plenty of people that have just as bad of medical conditions that need massages and can't afford them. And it was making me really upset. You know, I'm like, well, if I go to school, I'm probably forced to charge an arm and a leg, and I don't want to do that, you know. I mean, I probably don't have to, but, you know, this way it's like, well, I can just take a donation or something. But see, what happened was I was going too far, and I was like, oh, well, I'll do it for free. Well, then I had people taking advantage of me. So I'm like, okay, I must have a donation of no more than $20 or no less than $20.
Well, the funny thing with that is that, you know, at first, once she started taking donations, like most people were giving like $20, right? But as, you know, and I noticed this, as she started to value what she did more, people, the average donation started to go up without her doing anything or asking for any more. Like, she never gives an amount.
I can't ask because I'll get in trouble.
Right. Like, the average donation started to go up. People started giving her $60 sometimes or more. You know what I mean? Like, people started giving her a lot more. So you sort of have to, you know, again, ask your subconscious mind, okay, well, what is reasonable to you right now? Now, some people have a problem getting money at all, and that's something you have to deal with, you know, like, even if you were trying, you know, even if it was like $20, which is a ridiculously low amount, you might still have a subconscious resistance to that, like, yeah, I'm not worth getting money. That's a problem. But let's say, like, you know, certain services, I'm not saying massage or Reiki or anything, but just say certain, like, spiritual services. There's a whole gamut of prices. Some people might charge $200, some people might charge $50. Well, the person who charges $50 doesn't mean they're any worse. It might mean their subconscious isn't ready for charging more, but, you know, it might mean that, okay, that's what my subconscious is able to accept. Maybe once I get used, might be even a little higher than what my subconscious is ready for. Once my subconscious is comfortable with that, then maybe I'll bump it to 75 or something, and then that's a little harder, and then, but, you know, that's cool. You know what I mean? So, like, you kind of have to take on a case by case basis. You know, if what technique is right for you, because sometimes, you know, like, I started out with coaching with an amount that was way higher than what my subconscious was ready for. And I thought I would just kind of beat it into submission, so to speak, and just like, well, you know, it's going to be, right? Because I've heard of people doing that where they're like, you know, they saw a business coach and their coach told them to set like $400 or something that was totally out of their range, but then they started actually getting it. Didn't work so well for me, you know, didn't really do that. But
stressful.
You know, so I lowered it more to a range that my subconscious could accept. And, so that happened. And then what I did for me, what was kind of the out for me, was I started producing services that was sort of a mid-range for people who couldn't afford coaching. So that's why I did the classes and webinars and things like that I would charge for. And that was a lot more believable, that I could say, I can see myself getting, $50 for this class or something. I think that's pretty reasonable. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you sort of, you want to sometimes work in the context that your subconscious mind gives you and then branch out. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you try to totally break it from the beginning, it's just going to rebel against you and be like, you're delusional. If you think you can get that much for this service, then, your subconscious mind will play games like that with you. So you have to sort of play it by ear how your specific beliefs work. But sometimes it's worth compromising a little bit, I guess, is what I'm saying. It just depends. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It just depends what feels good to you. So I think that's a reasonable, approach to take in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So other questions about any of this from anyone at all? Any questions about how all this stuff, I think we've been really having a good deep discussion about awesome. Putting everything together like this. I think, we haven't had a discussion like this for a while. But do you have any other questions about how all this works?
Is there anybody else here that
PK
would
is here, I think.
Questions? Am I monopolizing the conversation?
Oh, no, you're fine.
Oh, you're fine.
You're fine. No one
cares. If you've got another question, go for it. My question might not be the right timing anyway.
In a different vein, so to speak?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. Well, we can get hers, and then we can get yours if you want, PK, and then we still have half an hour, so.
Okay. Well, I was going to take it in a slightly different direction now. This question was going to be more about ritual.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And that whole aspect of it, and whether you found that can be a powerful way to sort of, we're talking about ways and means as far as like affirmations and journaling and stuff like that. If you feel like the energetic power of performing a ritual around your manifestation sort of like amplifies the energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. A ritual basically is, a huge upgrade to just say visualization or journaling or something. It's a heavy hitter, so to speak. It's if you come with bows and arrows, it's like a tank.
Yep. Like a candle, like a 5-6 day candle. Oh yeah.
So so a ritual has the same purpose basically of changing your subconscious mind. Okay, there's a really interesting direction to take this if you ever want to, if you haven't already, is chaos magic. Ever heard of it?
Chaos magic,
yes,
not specifically, no.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Chaos magic,
Pretty
and
neat.
I don't specifically go in that direction because I'm not really huge in like sigils and stuff, but chaos magic just basically, ceremonial magic is very, very strict about you have to do specifically this, you have to use specifically this plan.
Yeah, I have trouble with that.
Yeah, that's for years, like I've always been attracted to magic, and for years I would try, and then I get kind of put off by, well, you got to use this herb, you got to use Jupiter, you got to use...
And then you get so caught up in, like, am I doing this right?
Right,
and, like,
exactly.
What order is this? What am I supposed to say? That you feel like there's no power behind it because you're just trying to chase your tail.
Exactly. So, for me, and you'll, if you see some of the recent Unseen World podcasts, you'll see this. I've gone more like, I call it the left-hand path. It's more like about getting results, where the right-hand path is more like kind of union with the whole and stuff like that. Left-hand path is more getting results for what you want in life. And it's also very individualistic for how you want to do magic. There's not really any rules about it. There's not, however you want to do it, you do it. So I don't use rituals a ton, but I really do enjoy them. There's a lot to be said for rituals. They can be really enjoyable.
Yeah.
I just got go ahead.
This is kind of the thing that's been holding me back a little bit. And I'm going to go back. I haven't listened yet I know you did a podcast about like casting a circle.
Yeah.
Just like, is there anything when you're creating your own ritual, like the basics to keep yourself safe?
Okay. When you talk about ritual, when we're saying ritual, I just want to say everybody has a different definition of ritual. So a chaos magic can also be a ritual. So now when you're saying ritual,
chaos magic can do real rituals.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, is Shira, for just to make sure when you say ritual, are you referring to just normal casting a spell, or are you referring to like something the Golden Dawn would do? Just because I know I've heard that it's a little bit different because we're talking about
either one, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think either specifically.
That's fine.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure I was absolutely clear.
Nothing like dark and crazy that I would expect.
No, right, yeah.
Okay. Negative energy attached to, but just
right, no.
I hear a lot of people talk about, like attracting things that you don't want, attachment.
You know what? That's more, I find. Okay, so that kind of fear, I find, is more right-hand path fear. I will tell you, I did. I know I wrote an article on casting a circle, and it is a valid approach if you want to. But right-hand path practitioners are more about separating, dividing things up. So here's me in the circle and the energies I want, and out there is everything I don't want. But it sort of divides up your psyche in a way, because the ritual is just really a reflection of your psyche. So if you're telling yourself, well, here's stuff I want, there's stuff I don't want, you're sort of confusing yourself in a way. So, a while ago I did a ritual, and for the first time I did not use a circle. And I will tell you, it was a totally new experience. It did not feel weird in any way, though, or wrong, or like I was out of control of the energy. So left-hand path magician is going to basically believe that he or she is fully in control of all the energy around the space, whatever ritual space you're using. Okay? So we're about control. All right? And if you're not, how can I say it? You need to have the confidence that you are in control, and you will be. It goes by your level of confidence. You know what I mean? Your emotions about it, your feeling about it. If you don't have the confidence, then yeah, maybe you want a circle. But it's like for left-hand path magician, it's just not really necessary, because there's not really something big and dark and scary out there that we're scared of. Oh my gosh, what if this other energy comes in and detaches itself? Magic responds to intention. So it's sort of, if you have the fear of something big and scary attaching itself to you, then you're going to be more likely for something big and scary to attach itself to you. But if you say, look, I'm in charge of my ritual area. I'm in charge here. I'm in control here. No energy has the permission to enter without, my saying so. Then nothing's going to really do that, right? Because you have that confidence, you have that control, and it's fine. So when I did the ritual without a circle, it was fine. There was nothing that I didn't want. Everything was how I wanted it to be, and it was okay.
And also, if you...
Christine was going first.
I'm sorry, Christine. Go ahead.
Christine?
No, this just brings up a really interesting point, because, for those that don't know, I grew up Christian, and I still kind of practice those beliefs. And in the practice of Christianity, you have the laying on of hands, where you do healing prayer for people. And my aunt always told me, protect yourself when you pray, before you start praying over people. And a lot of times I didn't, and guess what? Nothing happened. Sure. Because I knew, I was like, there's no need to do this.
Right.
I have control. Now, I didn't know this at the time, because it would become a hindrance, like, oh, shoot, I forgot to do that.
Right.
I forgot to protect myself. But what I realized is I didn't need to, because I knew nothing was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I just put that together tonight.
Right.
Because
sure.
it's like, well, so that's why nothing happened to me.
Yeah.
So.
What were you say, Justin?
Two things. First off, conjure does not. A lot of conjure workers don't use a circle.
No.
They're not left hand or right hand or anything. They don't call them. I don't know, but dare walk up to one and do that.
Consider themselves left hand.
But they use. They're pretty practical. They use Father, Son, Holy Spirit,
right?
And they use herbs and stuff. They don't necessarily use a circle either. What they say is they depend on the Father, Son, Jesus Christ to protect them, and if whatever spirits they use, and then they call on, and then they use the roots. They don't. I mean, they have protections because everyone has protections if you do it, but they don't necessarily call a circle. They don't. They just don't do that. And and as far as praying over people, no, if your vibration's high enough, you're just praying over them. You don't really need to put up some massive shield. You should be using natural protective shields anyway. So that shouldn't really matter. Just clean when you get home. Like I've got some Palo Santo root right here.
Yeah,
so
I love Palo Santo.
Yeah, so when you're like, oh man, I'm gonna slide up the root, man. Or I got frankincense and myrrh, whatever. I mean, don't worry about it.
Yep.
You can get that essential oil from Young Living.
Yeah.
And that'll
Palo
work
Santo.
too.
Oh, nice.
What's it called again? Young Living?
Yeah, but I wouldn't recommend them because they're an
Very
MLM
expensive.
and they're very expensive.
Yeah,
but
so yeah, I mean, just stuff like that. So, it's I think Brandon, I'm sure did you use Guy or your, whoever you have your spiritual allies with you, they're protecting you anyway if you're working with the system. So you don't necessarily need a circle. You don't want one. I love putting up a circle though. I like the four archangels at the crossroads. I like it. I just like to feel I'm at the center of the universe. It's mine. I control the four corners.
It felt very fluid.
Empowering for you.
Right.
Yeah,
for me, when I did mine, it felt very fluid and very free and very expansive. Just sort of, the room wasn't huge itself, so it wasn't like a huge area or anything, but it just felt very, it was just very expansive. Like the energy was just throughout the whole room. Whereas, it's like I don't have to confine it to this one area and worry about staying inside the circle and all that kind of stuff. It's like, so it was a lot. I really liked it. I was like, I'm going to do that.
The other trick I use is I'll take the crossroads. I call them the crossroads, but I'll take, taking some of the conjure stuff, but I'll take the LBRP and I'll just say, all right, guys, expand my circle out so that I've got the entire upstairs done.
Right.
Stuff like that. I mean, it's just whatever. But I don't always set a circle either. Honestly, I have done plenty of rituals. Yeah. Just lit candles and put the intentions in there without a circle. Honestly, did not even think about it until we were talking about it a few weeks ago. I'm like, I've done that plenty of times. So,
Yeah, so I mean, you're not going to get in trouble with any kind of dark energies or anything if you're not doing anything that's going to attract that sort of thing. As far as especially fear is a big thing. Fear. It reminds me of, I don't know how familiar you are with astral projection. Yep. They always say if you go into it with fear, you're going to get all the dark entities right up front.
Yep.
Right. They're going to just be like moths to a flame. They're going to be really attracted to you. If you go into it with positive thoughts, then you'll be fine.
You'll have a better experience.
So you have to really handle and manage your own inner energy system, so to speak, your inner consciousness. But as long as you're doing that, I mean, you're fine, and there's nothing really to be afraid of, right? So, I mean, magicians, I mean, it takes a lot more power than just say what you might call law of attraction, I guess, what I reluctantly call law of attraction. It takes a lot more power than that. It takes a lot more energy than that, and you have to have control. But if you're able to do that, then it's no problem at all. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Good. So yeah, I mean, but creating a ritual in general, I mean, I'm very simplistic about it because I'm visually impaired, so I don't use any kind of visual symbols. My altar is very, very simple. I use a kind of a chime. I don't have a bell, so I use a little chime thing for the ritual. I use music, just my own voice and that kind of thing, and that's enough for me. I mean, if I want more, then I'll have more. But I just, because of limited senses, I sort of have to adapt to that. So I don't care what herbs are there, what color candle or something. I don't care about any of that, right? So my thing is I really like music and the chime and
you're very audio.
Yeah, I'm very audio oriented, and that's my thing. And then just the intention, and that's enough for me. I still use a lot of visualization and ritual, and I might support it with
speaking it,
using words very powerfully. How in ritual you don't just say it like, yeah, I want whatever. You intone it. You say it very powerfully. You don't just whisper it or something.
You get lost in there. You just talk to it, man. You have conversate. Like I'll have conversations with, this candle represents this, or
But what I'm saying is, in ritual, you don't do that. You do it very loud, very powerful, very forceful.
Oh yeah, of course.
You don't just like, yeah, I want more money.
No, I actually sing to mine, so I will sing to it sometimes.
Right.
And then the other thing I'll do is I'll talk about going outside your circle. I'll actually take my aura, go as far out as I can with it, and then drag energy back in.
Right. So yeah, that's how it works basically. Just however you want to do it is fine. Really, there's no rules or like I started the order, like the Order of the Black Flame, and I haven't released this yet, but I do have a very basic ritual template, but it's not like required. It's just sort of a basis to start on, and it's just sort of, you do what you want to do, really. That's all it is.
Excellent. I can work with that a lot better.
Cool. Good.
Because it gets overwhelming to me, even like you said, like, well, this color candle means this, and this one means that. Don't use this color. Don't use a black candle because.
I know.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, oh my God.
Caught way too up in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, here's the funny part. You read it and they'll tell you, okay, and they'll say, these correspondences are here, but don't get caught up in it and then miss your ability to cast a spell. Because they'll say, and I read this, I can't remember where, the spell you don't cast is definitely the one that will not succeed. So, the most important part of it is you and doing it.
Yep.
Not the tools.
Cool. Right. So, PK, what was your question?
Well, I was wondering if you would be able to take us through sort of like a guided meditation to the zero state.
Oh.
Ooh.
Now, if that's something that you have to think about, we could do it another day. Or I was thinking you could even do one, for sale, so that we can just buy
I have right. But, I have thought about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the actually knowing that I'm really in the zero state would be very helpful, because for me it's just kind of blank nothingness, and I'm not sure if that's actually right or whether I can actually get I don't know, intuition from being there.
It's such a hard state to describe too, because it's like it's sort of beyond words, I guess. You know what I mean? It's a little
different for everybody too.
It's so hard to really describe, because it's like it's just a relaxed state where you're just sort of not really focused on anything specific, but it's sort of hard to describe, and the more you get there, the easier it is to get there again. But I mean, I think that people overthink it sometimes. I mean, I don't know. See, the thing is, and Christine makes fun of me for this. I've been, I guess, doing spiritual practices for years. I mean, I started like, I'm not a big fan of meditation. I'll be upfront about that. I hate meditation. Right? But I started that kind of spiritual practice when I was probably maybe 12 or 13 or so. And, I'm 28 now. Gosh, and hey, I'm not old. You're 27.
God, Brandon, you're so old, Brandon.
Oh, you're older than me, Justin.
No.
Older than I.
I'll be quiet. But,
sorry. You guys better not be old.
No. But anyway, so, I've been doing this kind of thing for years. So it's become very easy for me to kind of effortlessly sort of just take a minute to breathe and just enter a zero state or a mindfulness sort of state. So I don't know how it is for others. So when I say I think people are overthinking it, I could be totally wrong. It could be really, really hard. I doubt it's hard. I don't know.
You think everything is easy when it's not?
I don't know. It seems like it should be easy, but so that's,
for you.
That's what I'm saying. I have no idea. You guys have to, but.
Do you think you would be able to kind of talk us through one that you're doing or something?
Well, not while I'm doing it because it takes me about 3 to 4 seconds to get there. So it'd be a very short guided meditation.
Take a deep breath. You're there.
That's kind of for me too, but I mean, I could. I could definitely teach it.
Right? Yeah, I could too. I think I could. I mean, I was trained at least partially in, hypnosis. I did take some hypnosis courses. I was going to become a trained hypnotherapist, but then I decided not to because I prefer to work with people when they're fully conscious. But I think it's sort of overrated anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, I
never really got super awesome results with hypnosis. But I can talk someone down to a hypnotic state like nothing else. I'm pretty good at that. So hypnotic state is really just a deeper version of the zero state, right? Is really
well, I do that. I do self-hypnosis, but I don't actually get any, say, intuitions from it or whatever. It's just a really blank space for me when I do it.
Blank is okay. What are you expecting from the zero state? Because I find some people have weird expectations.
I kind of thought that I would get more like intuitions on or answers to things.
See, they come in different ways. They come in different ways. It's not.
But that stuff will come later. I mean, even now, when I will go within and like communicate with my deities or get information or whatever, I don't really go into a super deep state or anything. But if I'm asking, even if I'm like asking for a sign about something, sometimes I'll get it right away. Sometimes I'll get it later. You know what I mean? So it's not like, the zero state is really just a state in which you can sort of detach from your stories and from your thoughts. It's sort of this place where you can be apart from them. Okay? It's like, if you're familiar with non-dual, like Advaita Vedanta sort of philosophy, it's the witness consciousness, the witness.
Yeah.
Right? It's just being the witness. Okay, if you can be the witness, that's it. That's what the zero state is. It's just being the witness. Anyone not know what that is?
Yeah, that's like the Christ consciousness, the third eye.
Well, I think that's sort of over-dramatizing it, but I guess sort of.
That's kind of what we said in the class. But
but I'm saying, like, I think that's sort of people might be like it's this big thing.
Oh, well, no, it's not.
Right.
And that kind of ties in, though, because isn't that a similar state to sort of the desirable state when you're performing, like, a ritual?
Yeah.
Or doing magic in that state? Like, you want to be in that zero-type state?
Yeah, I mean, you have to start there, and then you build on top of it, and then you build up energy. So you don't end there, that's for sure. No. You know, because ritual takes a lot of energy, and the moment you start using energy, you're out of the zero state.
Okay,
but you want to start there for sure. You want to start in sort of a blank canvas. But if you can practice just being the witness consciousness, you know, like if you do self-inquiry, like, you know, who is it? Nisargadatta Maharaj, I think is the one who does the self-inquiry. Wow. Like, who's this? Like, who am I? Who's the I thought? That kind of thing. And you look at the self and you look what's behind all this. If you do that kind of practice, you know, and I'm not a big proponent of like non-dual, like strict non-duality where like everything's all one and we should try to get rid of the ego. I'm not into that. But trying to trace back the I thought is kind of a valuable thing because it will help you to separate yourself from your thoughts. So that's definitely a valuable thing to do if you haven't done that.
I've done sort of like, where is my next thought coming from? What is thinking the thought? Is that the same sort of thing?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say where is the next. I mean, I guess that's similar. But if you have a thought that comes up and you say, who is the one thinking this thought? And you kind of draw your attention to that and say, okay, what is that? What's that all about? It's not really a logical thing. It's just sort of a...
Yeah, it definitely puts the mind sort of goes, and that's it.
Right. What you're trying to do is sort of tangle up the mind in a sort of pretzel and then go beyond it. Go behind the... You want to practice going behind the mind or beyond the mind, if that makes sense. Like, what's behind consciousness? What's behind the thoughts? Because what we tend to do is think that we are the thoughts. So if I think, if I think some kind of fearful thought, yeah, that's my thought. I am thinking that thought. But what's behind the thought and the thinker of the thought? That's the question. That's not saying anything about oneness or anything. It's just what's behind the thought and the thinker of the thought. You know, it's just sorry, Christine hates this topic.
Oh, you're fine.
But it's just the awareness that thinking arises in, you know, so you have this fearful thought, okay, but I'm just the awareness that all this stuff is happening inside of. So being that awareness that is the field of consciousness for everything else to happen within is being basically the witness consciousness. That's the zero state. That's what I call the zero state, because it's beyond thinking. It's beyond thought. If you start there, you can't have resistance there because resistance is thought.
And for me, especially when I know I can get answers without consciously following where the answer is coming from. So I can tell when the answers or when the thoughts or when the impressions or emotions I get are absolutely not mine. Like it's like, oh, okay. You know, it's like I might focus on the topic and then just whatever comes. And I could not have, and it comes in a way, in a shape that I could not have made up. That's one indication I'm in a zero state, or that I'm doing what I need to in the right alignment.
I think if you're strictly like in the zero state, strictly speaking, you get to a point where you can't really be, I guess, in the zero state. You just have the zero state there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it kind of goes beyond that ego that is working with, you know, the thoughts and the beliefs and, you know, that kind of stuff. And you're just entering into everything. What's beyond that? What's behind, you know, what's behind the curtain, so to speak, beyond the veil of ego consciousness. It's not that, right? So, does that make sense? I know it gets a little complicated.
Not really, actually.
Yes.
Go ahead. It's okay. Go ahead and ask for clarification. I mean, what do you have trouble with specifically? I mean, what specifically? Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, it seems to me that I might be part of the way there, where I am kind of everything is just blank, absolutely blank.
Mm-hmm.
But is the zero state something further from that, on from that?
What are you experiencing when you're in that blank space?
It's almost like just a very dark screen and sometimes random thoughts just drifting through, and I'm trying to let them go and not take any notice of them.
Right, I'll be honest. I don't see the point of no thoughts, of trying to get no thoughts.
That sounds like Buddhism.
A lot of people will encourage getting to a point of no thoughts. I don't see the point.
They come anyway, but what I'm trying to do is not take any notice of them.
Right, so... Oh, that's loud today, Justin. What I do, basically, is just let the thoughts come. I don't say these are my thoughts. I don't claim ownership of the thoughts. The thoughts just come. I step out of the thoughts. I'm the space that the thoughts are in, but I'm not the thoughts, okay? So I'm not, the thoughts are still coming. I'm not really trying to do anything with them. They're just doing what they do. And then once they weaken a bit, then I will reestablish, ego, so to speak, and say, okay, well, I'm going to have these other thoughts instead. So it's sort of this interplay, if you're talking about manifestation specifically, it's sort of this interplay between egoless and ego, because you have to sort of go between sometimes, I think, and go back and forth, because egoless will just nullify that resistance, like right away. It will just nullify that resistance, okay? And then ego, you have the control to say, this is what I'm going to think about. This is what I want to focus on. So the zero state is not necessarily blank. It's not necessarily emptiness. It's just the field that all the thoughts come up in. You might have a lot of thoughts coming up, but it's just this detachment from them that you're able to hold. Okay, so a good start to it, I find, is like NLP dissociation. Disassociation, not dissociation. NLP dissociation is basically like if you have a thought, usually you're kind of in the thought, you're experiencing the thought, you're feeling the thought. What would happen if you stepped out of the thought? What would happen if you just kind of stepped out of the whole frame? That's a good start, I would say, to all this. If you practice that, anything like what I mentioned, disassociation, self-inquiry, that kind of thing, is a good start. I mean, yes, I am planning on doing I do want to sometime do like a guided meditation or something that I would sell. It'd kind of be pointless, I think, just to do it for the zero state, because that would take like a few minutes probably, ideally. But I would probably do it for, focusing on your goal and stuff like that. But that's something I plan on doing soon. But those are some good techniques to get started, I think. I think those could help. Does that make sense? Does that hopefully clarify things a little more?
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of letting it go a bit further than what I have.
Yeah. Don't try to get emptiness. Just don't. Just go beyond. Just be the space that the thoughts happen in. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? So a really common metaphor that Enlightenment teachers will use is, like my favorite, Jeff Foster will use the metaphor of the sky versus the clouds. So if you're the sky, you're not really concerned about the clouds that are coming through. They're just sort of blobs. They're just sort of, things that are happening. But the sky is just the emptiness, the open space that all that stuff is happening within, right? So that is sort of what the zero state's like. You still have clouds. It's not
a new.
Yeah, it's not it's not just an empty sky with no clouds. There's still clouds, but you're just the sky. You're just the openness that the clouds can't affect. The sky isn't any different just because you have clouds in it. It's the same. It's unaffected. So the zero state, or that field of consciousness, isn't any different because you have a thought of fear or because you have a thought of excitement or anything else. It's just the same. And if you step back into that openness, then that helps you to detach from those fearful thoughts, because you're not them anymore. You don't own them anymore. You don't identify with them anymore.
Great.
Okay. Hopefully that helps a little bit. I know
it's a very good analogy for mindfulness. That's great.
I like that one.
I like that. That's new to me.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that one. So, like I said, I'm not super into like the non-dual stuff, because I mean, creation is all about being an individual and imposing your will upon the universe. So it's kind of anti-non-duality, but it's useful to explore this open state beyond the ego, so to speak, so that you can release whatever needs to be released. That's very useful. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's everything. Is that good?
That's great.
Good.
It was a great talk today, guys.
Yeah, that was a very deep one today. Enjoy it. Thanks, especially Cassia, for joining us today. It was good to have you.
Yes, thank you so much. It was wonderful to be a part of it.
What's your name?
Cassia.
Okay, Cassia. Yeah, it was great to have you.
So hopefully we were able to help with your questions. And
absolutely. And thank you, PK, for bringing up the zero state, because I feel like that really tied it all together really well.
Yeah, that was great. So I hope everyone has a great week, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.